Part 6. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 51. Chapter 51 My Territory. Mrs. Song saw that Sister Han was only playing with herself and ignored her cousins and cousins. He was neither anxious nor annoyed, he just coaxed her softly, "Good boy. Call someone quickly." Song Shihan turned to look at his grandmother, pursed his lips, and didn't move or scream. This expression is very similar to Song Shang's when she was competing. Mrs. Song had no way to do anything to her and shook her head helplessly. When Jiao stepped forward with a smile, "Sister Han, show your puppet to Auntie," wanting to tease her, she reached out to touch the puppet. As a result, Song Shihan turned around violently, avoided Wen Jiao's hand, and screamed impatiently, "Don't move." Wen Jiao's hand stopped in mid-air, feeling a little embarrassed. How is she usually so good-tempered? But I couldn't lose my temper at the moment, so I had to put down my hands with a smug expression on my face. When you laughed in her heart, she deserved it. Mrs. Song finally blamed Song Shihan, "Han. You don't call people, but you still yell like this, you are not good. How can there be any blame in this expression and tone?" When Song Shang was young, there were many potential dangers around him. Although Mrs. Song loved him more than her own life, she was also extremely strict with him. He cannot do anything he is not allowed to do. Otherwise, if she finds out, she will beat her herself. If he hadn't taken care of him like this, Song Shang would have died a long time ago, let alone being as outstanding as he is now. But now, life is peaceful and smooth, and facing people of the next generation, Mrs. Song's good temper is overflowing, and her patience has no limit. Mrs. Wen laughed loudly on the side, "Okay. Honor is so good, I like it," but she was thinking in her heart, "I'm so used to it. If some of the girls in my family dare to be so unruly in front of me, they will be slapped on their face." The Wen family members were also laughing and joking, "Yes, Sister Han is so cute." He only spoke warmly and turned his head to look at the paintings on the wall disapprovingly. But she heard Mrs. Song calling her, "Ayu, come here." When you walked carefully and reached Mrs. Song's side, she smiled sweetly and said, "Auntie." Mrs. Song looked Wen Yu up and down. Tall stature, although thin, but her face is white and pink. The eyes are as bright as black pearls, and they look strong. Green-pink knitted red plum shirt and green-pink skirt. There are 2 pearl flowers on her head and a gold lock around her neck. The clothes are not that particular, what stands out is the image of a sweet girl in a boudoir. Well, what a nice girl. Mrs. Song's eyes were filled with fondness. Wen Yu often lived in the Song family when he was a child. Although the Wen family doesn't want to see her, Mrs. Song likes this little girl quite a lot. I think women should be like this, filial, well-behaved, not lazy, love to laugh, have good eyesight, and know how to treat their elders well. This is the quality of a good girl. Of course, her eldest granddaughter is not included in this condition. Ouch, seeing that Wen Yu was more than half a head taller than him, he turned to Mrs. Wen and said, "This girl's stature looks like Mr. Wen's. She also looks like her. Tisk tisk, she looks so good looking." Praise from the bottom of my heart. Hearing his grandmother praising others for their good looks, Song Shihan finally turned his face, pursed his lips, and his eyes became even more unhappy. Mrs. Wen smiled and said nothing. "You're just too thin, eat more. Remember, if you like fish, come to the lake, the fish and shrimp are fresh, eat more." "And, do you remember what you are likes to eat?" Wen Yu asked coquettishly. "You little greedy cat, how could I not remember? You, and the little girl following you, how old are you, that brave one?" The 2 of them ran to the lake to catch fish. "The girl came back with me, tell me, it scares me." Wen Yu's face is smiling, but her heart is sad. "Among relatives, Mrs. Song is the best to me," right? It's a pity that later she came in and became her son's concubine. It was Webster's instigation that made her disappointed and hating herself. Mrs. Song picked up a brocade box next to her and said, "This is an adult gift for you. As an adult, you must be careful in your words and deeds, be filial to your elders, and set an example for your younger sisters." Yes. Thank you for your teaching and reward, when you took it with his sincere and respectful hands. Old Mrs. Wen's ears are a little red. As a grandmother, she has never taught her like this. There are a lot of fun things prepared at home during these days, you sisters. At this moment, a chuckle came from the door. "Mom, is my great aunt here?" The door curtain opened and Webster walked in. The girls in the Wen family, including the new sister-in-law, all turned their attention to Webster. She was wearing a silver plain skirt today, with a palm-wide belt embroidered with flowers and decorated with pearls and mother-of-pearl flowers. The lapel with mother-of-fritter pearls hanging down swings at the edge of the skirt with every step, making the whole person agile and elegant. Walked up to the two ladies and saluted with gestures as usual. Mrs. Song was all smiles when she saw her daughter-in-law coming. Mrs. Wen also smiled and called, "Xiang Yu. Auntie, you have worked hard all the way. Oh, these are my younger siblings." She walked over and looked at Mr. Li up and down. The new daughter-in-law had a thin face and shouted in a low voice, "Cousin-in-law. Li is wearing a red shirt and skirt, and she wears quite a lot of jewelry." Webster was very dissatisfied. Look at what he was wearing, it was tacky. Several girls from the Wen family quickly shouted, "Cousin. My cousin is so pretty. The style of this lapel is so beautiful." Webster smiled casually and glanced at the Wen sisters one by one, without stopping at Wen Yu, just like he did with others. Then she said to Mrs. Wen, "In the next 2 days, relatives and friends coming to attend my mother's birthday banquet will be arriving. I have a lot of things on my hands. Fortunately, you arrived 2 days early and happened to be with my mother." Old Mrs. Wen nodded with a smile, but felt a little dissatisfied. "Why don't you hear this? Oh, you don't have time to spend time with your mother-in-law, why don't you let me do it? Who is the envoy? Who I am? I am your mother-in-law's elder." This Webster always looks proud. What is he doing? If it weren't for Song Shang, how could you have caught my eye even if you were dressed like a princess? But when I think about it, my face doesn't show it at all. Webster finally saw the brocade box held in Wen Yu's hand, and smiled. "Although sister you didn't do this coming-of-age ceremony, she can still receive the gift now." Wen Yu smiled coquettishly and said, "It's my aunt who favors me, so don't be jealous." Ha, Webster's heart was churning, with a sharp look on his face. Sister Wen is really good at joking. She didn't control her emotions well, so her voice was very abrupt, which aroused Mrs. Song's dissatisfaction. "Okay. Not only Au has it, but you ladies also have it, and they've all been put in your own room." Wen Jiao took the lead and said, "Aunt, you are so kind." Mrs. Song pointed at her and smiled, "You little girl, your voice is not small. My ears are shaking. I don't know who she is referring to." "Auntie won't notice Jiao because her voice is too low." Wen Jiao didn't care. Everyone laughed. Mrs. Song added, "This time, your cousin has done a lot of tricks. There are juggling and plays, all arranged in the theater, and a female storyteller is also invited. If you are willing, you can stay there for a day. In addition, in the Beast Garden, your cousin has sent someone to get some good ones. Just stay out of the Zhuangzi Gate and play wherever you want." The girls were even more happy and responded one after another. "And, I will accompany you," Mrs. Song said to Mrs. Wen. "Let's listen to books, sit by the lake, and relax for 2 days. Oh, if you want to go on a lake ride and ride a horse, let your cousin arrange it. Come on. Sister Han, do you want to play with your aunts?" "I'm not going," Song Shihan frowned. Mrs. Song laughed heartily, and Mrs. Wen also smiled and shook her head. This little girl. Oh, Sister Yi is here with me too. Wang Xiaoai is her natal niece. This girl has been very capable recently. I just sent someone to find her for you to see, but I don't know where she went. She's very familiar with her here. When your cousin is too busy, tell Sister Yi if you want something to eat or drink. All the girls agreed. Mrs. Song turned to Wei Shi and said, "Go and do your work. I'll talk to your aunt for a while." Sister Han, do you want to go with your grandmother or your mother? Sister Han stood up immediately, without saying a word, and went up to hold Webster's hand. When you couldn't help but secretly sigh that Mrs. Song was so kind to Song Shihan, but she couldn't get her kindness at all. When Webster went out, he just smiled at his sisters and said, "Sisters, don't treat yourself as a guest. Let's have fun." After that, he led Song Shihan away. The Wen family, the one she values most is Wen Huan. Wen Huan didn't come, and she didn't pay attention to the others. Especially when you get to my territory, I'm not in the mood to deal with you. I don't want to write anymore. The first time I recall cutting a book. End of this chapter. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 52. Chapter 52. He listens to you. The Song family has many beautiful and cruel memories of when you. After being reborn, these things only belong to her, and she doesn't want outsiders to disturb her. So, she said to cousin Hui, who wanted to accompany her, "Cousin, you go play with your sisters. I will go back and change my clothes, and then I will go find you." While walking towards my residence, I always felt something strange behind me, as if someone was following me. You can look back, but you can't see it. Even after I paid attention, I soon discovered that someone was really following me, because I had hidden my body, but not my skirt. When you smiled. Going back to the house, she asked Yanzu to comb her hair again. The braided hair on the top of the head is twisted into a flower bun and pinned with a silver hairpin. The hair is spread behind the back. It hangs down to the buttocks, light and satin-like. Put on a very light beige shirt and skirt. With the hairstyle, she looks elegant and elegant. Xiaoji looked at him blankly. "Girl, you are like a fairy." Yanzu admired her craftsmanship and said, "Of course. The girl is the prettiest, she is particularly agile when doing what she likes. So I changed my clothes last morning, using Wen Yu's dress." Wen Yu's clothes were on the thin side, which highlighted her proud figure. Xiaoji looked at Yanzu and was stunned again. "Zuzu, you are also very good looking. Oh my god, I will follow you out, I. Xiaoji's face turned red rarely. "I am so arrogant." Wen Yu and Yanzu both laughed, like flowers under the bright sun. The girl who was hiding in the corner and following her saw her, and her heart was pounding. The group went to the theater first and heard the girl at the door say that two old ladies were listening to a book inside. Miss Wen and Miss Yi went to the zoo of animals together. Next to the theater is the library. It has been built and repaired in the past 2 years. It seems to be quite large and elegant. When you planned to go and see what new books he had collected, but Yanzu didn't like it here and quickly pulled her away. "Ayu, let's go to Zuyuan." Blinking eyes with a flattering look. When you instinctively wanted to refuse, but then she thought about it and smiled. "Okay. Let's go to the Zuyuan." Yanzu was happy. As she walked, she picked up flowers on the roadside and asked Xiaoji to plug in the plug for her. "We haven't been there for several years. I don't know if the raspberries against the wall are still there." "Haha, that's great. Have eaten." When you also smiled sweetly. "What's delicious? We both picked them all before they were ripe. It's sour and astringent." "Ha, it's delicious just like that." After walking around chatting and laughing for a long time, We arrived at the bamboo garden in my memory. Yanzu was very surprised. She looked left and right. Hey, this is the bamboo garden? Why is it like this? The original dilapidated bamboo fence courtyard walls have turned into neat flowered stone walls, and there is a big red door, which is closed. Through the courtyard wall, you can see the eaves inside. Have you built a house? When you was not surprised. In her last life, she had lived here most of the time. Who lives here? Yanzu was very curious. She walked up in 2 steps and peeked through the crack of the door. At this moment, the door opened and Yanzu was startled. A woman wearing navy blue clothes came out. She had a long face and was very ordinary in appearance, but she was as thin and strong as a javelin. She saluted Wenyu, Miss Wen. Mrs. Su Wenyu recognized her, Song Shang's capable subordinate. Miss, please come in and sit down, we've just made some tea. Madame Su smiled and made a gesture of inviting her in. Yanzu likes freshness the most, so she ran in quickly. Wenyu nodded and followed Madame Su in. When the girls who were watching outside saw it, their expressions changed greatly, and one of them trotted away to report the news. Here, a house made of stone and bamboo was built, with upper and lower floors. There is also a large platform on the 2nd floor. You can look out at the bamboo sea behind. Yanzu ran up and down looking at him, full of admiration. Wenyu went directly into the hall. The small charcoal stove next to the table was boiling tea, and there were dried fruit snacks. After looking at them, they were all my favorites. Wenyu felt moved and a little weak. He poured a cup of tea himself and drank it slowly to calm down. This bamboo garden, Song Shang once said, was built for her. The style is simple, yet extremely sophisticated. Whenever it rained, it was so pleasant for 2 people to sit on the platform, drink wine, and watch the rain. They both really had a wonderful time. He motioned for Madame Su to sit down, but Madame Su was not polite. She sat down and said, "Fifth Master said that if he sees the girl, he should ask if the horse riding arrangement can be arranged in the morning the day after tomorrow." Wenyu shook her head and said, "You go back with your cousin. Arrangements for horseback riding are troublesome and take a long time. The day after tomorrow is my aunt's birthday party. There are so many guests coming, so my cousin should get busy first. After a while, I'm just looking for an opportunity to ride a horse." Mrs. Su smiled and said, "The horse riding has already been arranged. What the girl says, my subordinates will tell the 5th Master. Cousin lives here." "Yes. My cousin asked me to come here with the account I want to find some time to meet him. The 5th Master knows, he has promised that the girl will have a hard journey, and it will be around dinner tomorrow." "Good." The little girl was reporting to Wei Shi, "I went to our master's bamboo garden, and she even opened the crack in the door to peek in." In fact, Yanzu opened the crack in the door. "She is so shameless," said the nanny beside Wei Shi through gritted teeth. Later, the Lady Su opened the door and let Miss Wen in. Webster's face was livid. The bamboo garden was designed and built by her husband himself. In the past 2 years, he simply lived there. It was built, and I only went to see it once. Later, news reached to her that no one else could enter the bamboo garden without Song Shang's consent. Even my mother-in-law was not allowed in, and she was so angry that she left. But how could she laugh? That Lady Su is her husband's subordinate. I heard that she is also someone's widow, and her 2 sons are with her. You can't even control yourself." He actually came out to greet the dead girl. "She's being stared at," she said through gritted teeth. "Looking extremely ugly." Song Shihan was playing with toys on the side. He heard something strange and glanced at his mother. Wenyu sat for a while and asked Yanzu to go to the beast garden. Yanzu muttered in the yard, "I remember there is a stove there." "Ew, you found a secret book in the library, what are you tinkering with there?" "Our hands made cuts and burned bubbles, Tisk tisk, each one has a little black face. Fortunately, I haven't encountered a snake. With this said, when you also remembered something like this, yes. Yanzu continued, the fifth master also brought us rice, chicken, and bacon. Roasted bacon, bamboo rice, and bamboo chicken soup. Ah, it's delicious, she swallowed. The man who cut bamboo for us is a lame old man named Lu. I don't know if this man is still around, when you also remembered. It's so annoying, he was already very old by that time, he was hunchbacked and lame, he was so pitiful, he was so happy eating our leftovers, haha, he stayed here for a whole day, and MRS Song thought you were going to class, haha. Xiaoji shook his head after hearing this. Zuzu, you are so courageous. You will follow the girl in whatever she does. What will happen if the girl has scars on her face and hands? That means my wife left early, otherwise, if I find out, I will beat you to death. Yeah, no matter how crazy I get, she will follow me. When you looked at Yanzu with some emotion, she was skipping away, as happy as a little rabbit. It's a pity that we struggled for a long time and couldn't make any bamboo-flavored salt. Why didn't you get it out? When you stopped again. She finally remembered and found an old book in the library, which recorded a kind of bamboo-scented salt. She wanted to make it after seeing it. She and Yanzu did it at first, but how could two little girls get over it? After Song Shang knew about it, he arranged for people to chop bamboo, light fires, and clean up. I don't know how many times I have failed. Later, Yanzu couldn't come because he had a cold, so he worked here alone. Song Shang came and took him aside, saying he wanted to see what bad things are you doing. Split the burned bamboo tube, looked at it for a long time, tasted it for a long time, was stunned for a long time, turned to look at myself, and looked at it for a long time. Then, he grabbed his braid and insisted on writing it down, what he originally wanted to do, how it was done, how much salt was used, how many times it was filtered, what kind of bamboo, what kind of heat, and how long it was burned. Normally, she quite bullies him. But when he gets angry, I'm afraid of him. There is no other way but to write down the process in detail. After reading it, he questioned each item for a long time. Finally, he threatened himself not to tell others about this matter. If he said so, he would put all the salt in his mouth. After eating so much salt, she turned into a yanbohu and flew into the sky, then fell down and died. He also said that he had destroyed his garden, and asked her to write an IOU owed 10,000 taels of silver. I struggled with him for a long time and finally wrote 500 taels. This bullied her for being young. If Yanzu hadn't mentioned it, she would have forgotten it. Asshole. Ayu, tell fifth master, let's stay here for 2 days. He will agree if I say so. Yes, he will listen to you even if he doesn't listen to anyone else. How do you know? Wen Yu's heart was pounding. Could it be that his friendship for her could be seen by others? Of course I know, Yanzu shook his head proudly. That bastard. Just know how to bully me. Madam, she came out of the bamboo garden and went to the beast garden. Madam, our master came back and went directly to the animal garden and saw her. Webster stood up suddenly, his eyes flashing fiercely. The one named Hungdu made a lot of noise and asked our father to get food. She wanted to feed the little pony. Our father is really good-tempered, so he quickly asks someone to get it. A girl dares to order our father, that girl indignant. Webster couldn't stand it anymore, so he rushed out the door and went to the zoo of animals. When she arrived panting, she found that no one was in the garden. But another girl came with news that Miss Wen had returned to her room. The fifth master went to see the old lady. Webster has never experienced this since he was a child. He is so angry that he is shaking. As she walked back, a woman came in with a letter in her hand. Madam, look, that girl Linger picked this up. What Webster took it and opened it. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 53. Chapter 53. I did it on purpose. After breakfast the next day, the sisters accompanied Mrs. Wen to the conference living room. As soon as I entered the door, I found that there were already a dozen guests inside. Webster wore a bright red embroidered gold silk peony jacket, a set of gorgeous headdress, heavy makeup on his face, and a sharp look of pride between his eyebrows. Talk to people casually. Old Mrs. Wen saw Wei Shi and smiled. Hey, Xianjiao looks like a bride today. Webster raised his face in a pretentious manner. What bride? I am a real lady. Old Mrs. Wen was inexplicably interrupted and was a little dazed, thinking, what on earth is going on with Webster? A bit of a fire, but what could she do? So I pretended not to hear it and laughed, when someone in front of me called out, Aunt Song, you are here. Mrs. Wen took advantage of the situation and walked forward. Oh, Mrs. Feng. We haven't seen each other for a while. The Wen sisters followed and walked in. Wen Yu was the last one. When passing by Wei Shi sighed, where did the bedbug fly from? It fell into my mouth alive. It's really looking for death. Wen Yu looked at Wei Shi with a surprised look on his face, looking up and down, as if he couldn't believe Wei Shi's performance. Wexler's eyes stood up. But at this moment, a girl came over gently. Ew. Year, Wen Yu ignored Webster and left. Webster sneered from behind. Year is Mrs. Song's natal niece, only a few days older than Wen Yu. Mrs. Song liked her very much and often asked her to accompany her. She and Wen Yu met often and were quite familiar with each other. She was busy yesterday and didn't see Wen Yu. When the Wen family came in, she came to see her, but she saw Wei Shi losing his temper. Year was also stunned. What's wrong with her? Year's parents died early. Mrs. Song was worried about Year's lack of education, so she took care of her herself. Currently, Year is in charge of everything in Mrs. Song's yard. Actually, it has nothing to do with Webster. But Webster was so arrogant that she even looked down on her mother-in-law, let alone her orphaned relatives. Furthermore, the husband is too kind to Year. The girl hadn't gotten engaged yet, and she was really afraid that the old lady would make the decision, so she gave Year to her husband. So he doesn't show it on the face of the public, and he doesn't have a very good look towards Year in private. Year's parents died young and she was very sensitive. She was so cold to Wei Shi that she was embarrassed to tell Mrs. Song and often felt worried. Ew, I happened to have something to do yesterday, and I didn't see you in the beast garden. I was worried that you would have a hard journey at night, so I didn't want to disturb you. Why are you so polite? We've just met each other now. Oops, we haven't seen each other for nearly a year. Are you okay? I've been living with my aunt these days, it's all good. Ew, are you a punch higher than me? Yeah, I've been on the road lately. You are so beautiful, Year said sincerely. Hey, this is Hongdu. Why are you so dark? Miss Year, my name is Zuzu now. This face has a rash, it's for medicine. It will be fine after a while. Yanzu was very concerned about this, touching her little face with her hands and feeling worried. Well, even if you have a black face, you are still good looking. Year looks average, so she likes good looking people. Year, Zuzu is no longer the girl next to me. My uncle adopted her as his adopted daughter, she is my sister. Ah. Really? What's going on? Tell me quickly. Year's eyes widened, she was also a gossip. Wexler stood there alone, watching Wen Yu and Year chatting animatedly. The one next to me with the bulging front and back is the one named Hongdu, right? This smile is so wild. What a born bitch. Since the husband coaxed the two of them to play in the animal garden yesterday, I guess they will both follow the husband in the future? She dug hard into her handkerchief. Yesterday's letter. Who wrote it? It is certain that it is the people around Mrs. Wen. Moreover, Mrs. Wen may not know about this. Who is the one? What do you want to do? Red coral hairpin. She has never seen it, but she has heard of it. Let's not mention the exquisiteness and preciousness. The key point is, this is the husband's wish. Since marrying Song Shang, she has not even counted how much money she has spent on jewelry and clothes. I haven't thought about this problem either. Anyway, when you get your things back, there will be a cashier in front of you to settle the bill. She once thought that this was very good, and she could live a life more chic than the ladies in the capital. Unexpectedly, as a husband, he had never cared about anything for himself. At most, during the Chinese New Year, she can get a gift from her husband from her mother-in-law, neatly packaged, from her own store, all good stuff. But now that he thinks about it, it didn't cost him any thought. He went to the Huiwen auction and bought a red coral hairpin. But he gave it to Wen Yu, that bitch. This is really unreasonable. Over there, several women were chatting after the ceremony, and it was very lively. After a while, someone said, "Old lady, our fifth master is here." "Hey, he's here," Mrs. Song said quickly, "let him come in and meet these aunts and uncles." Song Shang strode in, dressed in bright blue, with a smile as pure as the sky. Walked up to Mrs. Song, "Mother." Several ladies quickly praised, "Oh, brother Shang. Look at how energetic he is." "Yes, yes. Such magnanimity. Even if you say you are a marquis, some people will believe you. There are a lot of flatterers. These people have benefited more or less from Song Shang, so they are really full of enthusiasm." Song Shang stood next to his mother and talked to everyone with a smile. Then he turned his eyes and saw the man over there, joking with cousin Yer and that, Zazhu. Haha, he felt at ease and satisfied. At this time, Mrs. Song's maiden sister-in-law pushed the girl next to her. "What did you do for your aunt? Take it out quickly." The girl's nickname is Zhenyang, and she is the niece of this lady's mother-in-law. She saw that Song Shang had not had a son for several years after their marriage, so she thought of giving her niece to Song Shang. It doesn't matter whether you are a concubine or not, even if you give birth to a son, it will be the same. That chastity lady has an oval face, big eyes, and is very upright. Dress and behave like a stable young girl. Hearing this, his little face turned red. He responded and went to get it. Mrs. Song originally liked Zhenyang very much, but when she found out that her sister-in-law intended to give her to her son as a concubine, she didn't like her very much. Who would think about being a concubine in a well-behaved daughter's family? She won't tolerate this kind of thing. A wife asked, "What birthday gift did brother Shang give you?" Mrs. Song pointed to the case next to her, which was covered with red velvet cloth and had several objects on it. "This is the ancient jade bodhisattva." A few days later, during the 1,000-year Dharma ceremony of Tianlong Temple, brother Shang said that he would go to the Dharma to make offerings. "Please come back and consecrate it. The niche is ready." Some people came over to look at it. They knew it was expensive, but they didn't dare to pick it up. They praised it loudly. And the one next to me, it was brother Shang's daughter-in-law who gave me a set of ruby hair masks. Oops, how can I, an old lady, wear it? When you also found it funny when she heard Mrs. Song's nagging. That set of ruby head and face, I heard that Princess Wu has a similar set. But what is his identity? Mrs. Song really wears such a thing when going out. Will she not cause trouble or make a joke? But Webster always looks upward. Zhenyang's birthday gift was a handkerchief embroidered with the Chinese character "hundreds of years of life." Mrs. Song took it in her hand and looked at it carefully. Although she was a little dissatisfied with her, she couldn't deny that the handkerchief was really well made. Good girl, your hands are so skillful. Yes. Jennyang. The sister-in-law started to boast again. Mrs. Song listened, nodded, turned around and handed it to the person next to her, put it away. Song Shang stood there with a smile on his face and said nothing. Two more girls gave away purses and other things they made themselves, and they were also quite exquisite. Mrs. Wen quickly said, "You ladies, please bring out what you made for your aunt. You will definitely not be able to compare with Jennyang and the others, but you can't hide from them. You have to be embarrassed as soon as possible." "Haha, aunt, what are you talking about?" Mrs. Song laughed so hard. Everyone also laughed. Wen Jiao gave her a gold-painted folding fan. She bought the fan and it already had words on it. When she bought it, she just had to trace it with gold powder. Mrs. Wen looked at it, shook her head and smiled bitterly, "This girl's hands are clumsy." Wen Jiao didn't care, she opened it and fanned Mrs. Song, "Aunt, this is not an ordinary fan. Smell the fragrance. Doesn't it smell good?" "Smells good." Mrs. Song took it and fanned it, "Well, it smells really good. Wenwan sent Luza with 6 agar-wood beads on it, and you can smell the fragrance. Although it is not high-quality agar-wood, it is not cheap either. Fortunately, it is not used much, otherwise Wenwan would feel distressed." Wen Su is the most stingy about the scriptures she copied. Knowing that Mrs. Song believes in Buddhism, there is nothing wrong with copying this. Finally, it was Wen Yu's turn. She held a book in both hands. Mrs. Song took it and said, "Girl Yu, what is this?" "Aunt, you drew this for you." Song Shang moved forward, and the mother and daughter put their heads together to look at each other. Open the first page, which depicts a city with numerous shops and people coming and going. On the second page, there was a child who was running and playing in the market. When he saw people killing pigs, he stood and watched the fun. Looking through the page again, the child went to the next door again. Someone was shouting about selling goods, and he opened his mouth curiously. Then, his mother saw it, went home, packed her bags, and moved. Mrs. Song understood immediately, "I know this. It's Meng's mother who moved 3 times. She was illiterate when she was in her boudoir. Married, but not educated. Later, her husband died and she had to take care of the accounts. As a last resort, she learned some words. She is not very bright, she is gloomy and frightened. A ruthless fortune teller can only look at accounts, but can't read contracts. After her son grew up and took charge, she felt relieved and returned all the things she had learned to her husband. It was impossible to let her study, but as soon as she looked at this painting, she immediately knew that it was about the story of Meng's mother's 3 moves. Looking carefully, I was stunned again. This child turned out to be exactly what my son looked like when he was a child. Looking at Mencius's mother, she looks very similar to myself when I was young." Mrs. Song understood immediately and her eyes turned red. When Song Shang saw this, her heart was ups and downs. She was determined. Wen Yu handed Mrs. Song a handkerchief and said, "Aunt, my cousin's achievements today are all due to your careful guidance. You are the person Wen Yu admires the most." This sentence reminded Mrs. Song of the flash of swords in those years. Among the Song family, there were some who wanted to kill him, some who wanted to take advantage of him, and some who wanted to lead him astray. It is oneself, protecting, managing, leading, teaching. It is not easy for a widow like her who has no ability. But in the end, she looked at the son in front of her, he had become a better person than his father. "These are all my own merits." Mrs. Song pulled Wen Yu and said, "Ayu, you are a good child." Song Shang felt sweet and bitter in his heart. He was afraid of showing his emotions and did not dare to look at Wen Yu. His eyes were slightly moist. Webster took 2 steps over and smiled lightly. "Cousin Wen, you are really attentive." "Yes, I did it on purpose." "Thank you, cousin, for the compliment," Wen Yu smiled coquettishly. Webster wanted to say something else, but her husband took the picture album from her mother-in-law's hand and read it carefully. Old Mrs. Wen was sitting there, and her warm words were affirmed by Mrs. Song. She should be happy. But why do I feel so sour in my heart? This book is about to be signed. Thanks for your support. End of this chapter. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 54. Chapter 54. It's true. Songjiazhuang is a large group of buildings with an unknown number of yards. It is roughly divided into east, west and middle courtyards. Song Shang's family lived in the east courtyard. The west courtyard is relatively large and is mainly occupied by Song Shang's second uncle and concubine. The middle courtyard is used by the Song family for public use, such as ancestral halls, schools, etc. There is also a stage, but it was relatively simple because the Song family was not as wealthy as it is now when it was built. After Song Shang became the head of the family, all public buildings were repaired, and the stage was only briefly repaired. But he built a theater in the east courtyard. He specially found good workmanship and good materials, and it was very beautiful. Mrs. Song likes to go to the theater and will arrange one if she finds a pretext. But if people from the west courtyard want to come, they have to enter through the gate of the east courtyard. It feels like completely treating the Ziwan people as outsiders. Not only that, even the wall of the east courtyard is built very high and is still guarded. Everything shows alienation and distrust. On weekdays, unless there is an important event in the family, there is no coming and going in the east courtyard. Song Shang's second uncle was so angry that he almost died. There were a few times of brazen quarrels, but Song Shang was able to calm down overtly and secretly. Song Shang was not in a good mood to treat these family ties. He determined that the death of his father and eldest brother was inseparable from these people. Mrs. Song's birthday is the day after tomorrow, so her second aunt Zhang's birthday is supposed to be her birthday, but the relationship is not good anyway. But Mr. Zhang doesn't want to come right now to cause trouble. Zhang hated the Song dynasty's family. She gave birth to 3 sons and 2 daughters. The eldest son was the second in the Song family's generation. He disappeared a few years ago and could not be found. The eldest son of the Song family died when he was more than 2 years old, and the second son also disappeared when he was 16 or 17. His reputation is not good. Song Shang was only in his early 10 years at that time, and Zhang didn't feel that it was him who did it. But I suspected that it was the sister-in-law's handiwork, but no evidence could be found. This has become one of Zhang's many knots. Mainly power and money. Last year, something went wrong in the affairs that Song Shang's second uncle and fourth brother were in charge of. Not only did they lose money, but they also caused trouble. In the end, it was Song Shang who went to settle the matter himself. After that, he reprimanded his second uncle unceremoniously and even beat Song Silang. The benefits brought by the bamboo salt in Song Shang's hands turned into tribute salt, which made the Song family admire him. When I saw him, I nodded and bowed as a gift from afar. Even the clan elder, who had lost 2 of his teeth, grinned with a black mouth when he saw him. Ms. Zhang hated Mrs. Song and Song Shang very much, but was helpless. She is wearing a dazzling golden light today, just to steal Mrs. Song's limelight. He had a fake smile on his face and shook his head when he spoke, just to put off the fun. When you looked at Mr. Zhang and was really upset. He was a person who could never be good to others if he was not good to himself. Moreover, not only does he have a bad face and bad words, he is also capable of killing someone. When Mrs. Song's eldest son died, Mrs. Zhang had just given birth to her eldest son. At that time, the east and west courtyards of the Song family were not so clearly divided. The eldest son had a courtyard and could walk freely. Therefore, Wenyu doesn't believe that Song Dalan's death had nothing to do with her. "Oh, if it hadn't been for my sister-in-law's birthday, I wouldn't have had the chance to touch this fine banquet and the afternoon show," Mrs. Zhang said bitterly. "You will die or not?" Wenyu felt angry. Normally, Webster is full of momentum and capable, and can always restore the scene. But today, Webster's anger has nowhere to vent, so how can he care about this? Knowing that Mr. Zhang was going to find trouble when he came, he didn't know where to hide. Ms. Zhang, along with her two daughters-in-law and several girls, were chatting and making a lot of noise. Song Shang is not here. Although Mrs. Song is not afraid, she is still angry. Protecting her aunt, she said with a smile, "Second madam, you are too humble. I heard that a few days ago, my third brother invited a Chu Niang from Yangzhou for you. My aunt is so envious of her." Mrs. Song gave her a sideways look and didn't bother to talk to her at all. Her third daughter-in-law happened to be standing next to Wenyu, muttering in a low voice, "Who is this person? I don't even look at where this place is." She is talking. Wenyu heard this and explained seriously, "Third cousin, this is cousin Yeer, my aunt's biological niece. This is the east courtyard of the Song family, my aunt's home. She also looked like you didn't know why you were doing this." "You," she gave Song Sanzao a nudge. Old Mrs. Wen glanced at Wenyu, "Is this girl stupid, or is she pretending to be stupid?" Although she valued Song Shang the most, she did not want to offend other Song family members for him. Although Song Shang has done a lot for himself, what if he has a short horse and a short stirrup? He is the only one on this branch. Not to mention he doesn't have a son yet. Even if he has a son, when will he become successful? The second wife is the wife of several legitimate sons and concubines. The road cannot be blocked at any time. So, with a smile on her face, she pretended not to understand. Looking at Wenyu, he was blaming her, but later he said that this girl has been having too much fun lately. Mrs. Song also heard it and liked Wenyu even more. "Haha, Yeer and you are both my sweethearts. Especially Yeer, she has been with me all these years, so considerate. She is a good girl." "Hey, is Miss Yeer not young yet?" interested people began to ask. Old Mrs. Wen, "Your eldest granddaughter is so handsome, I have never seen such a beautiful woman. Yes, this skin color is so white and shiny. You don't know, Master Wen is so handsome." Miss Wen has followed her father. Everyone kept talking and laughing. Wenyu became the center of attention, and Zhang and his party were left out in the cold. Wexler had been staring outside the room, and as soon as he stepped in, he heard these. He couldn't help but look her up and down. Wenyu was leaning next to Mrs. Song. She didn't know what she said, but the ladies next to her burst into laughter. Wexler felt something was wrong even more. Although Wenyu loved to join in the fun in the past, he didn't have such a big influence. This is really wrong. At 1 o'clock, everyone sat down at the table. Song Shang came, looked at it carefully, and gave his mother a few words before saying goodbye and going to the man's side to drink with him. When passing by Wenyu, he stopped and whispered, "Find some time to talk before dinner. Someone will call you at the theater then." "Okay, where can we talk?" "Shangyun Pavilion, right." Wenyu thought for a while and nodded, "Okay. I left the account book at the door of the house. I'll have someone move it over right now." "Good." Song Shang left. Watching the interaction between the two people, Webster couldn't describe his mood at the moment. Wenyu didn't know what he thought of. He blushed and looked nervously at Mrs. Wen. He also glanced at Mrs. Song quietly and lowered his head. All this fell into Webster's eyes, but he didn't get angry anymore. She has already determined that these two people must be having an affair. After dinner and tea, everyone walked to the theater. MRS Song's hobbies are watching theater and listening to books. Today, a full set of The Phoenix Returns to the Nest has been arranged. As the gongs and drums sounded, MRS Song asked MRS Wen and others to sit down, and Mai Mei began to watch. After a while, a little girl whispered to Wen Yu while she was pouring tea and fruits for everyone. Wen Yu nodded slightly, then looked around carefully. Seems like he looked at MRS Song, his grandmother, and then came to see Webster. Webster's heart was pounding and he looked at the stage intently, looking fascinated. Wen Yu pretended to be dawdling for a while, then stood up when the gongs and drums sounded. Webster sat motionless because he had already made arrangements and was watched by several people outside. But Wen Yu didn't walk long before she couldn't sit still. It was like the gongs and drums on the stage, hitting her heart every time. I got up and came out and stood outside the theater door. A girl was already coming and going. That man went back to his room, combed his hair again, changed his clothes, the lipstick on his lips was still very red, and went out. Bitch. Bitch. After a while, another person came in a hurry. That person took Hongdu and looked like he was heading to Shangyun Pavilion. Shangyun Pavilion? That's where my husband meets friends. No one goes to the backyard, and no one goes to the front yard. It's very quiet. And, earlier, her husband went in. After a while, the news came, Grandma, she's in. She's in. Sure enough. End of this chapter. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 55. Chapter 55, Catch an Adulterer. When you left Xiaoji in the theater to watch the fun. He only took Yanzu back with him, changed his clothes, combed his hair, and put on bright red lipstick. Yanzu looked at her with burning eyes. What are you going to do? No one knows me better than her. When you asked, what do you think? Yanzu rolled his eyes. It must have something to do with the fifth master. Dressed like this, it can't be. No, no, no. No. But I do have something to plan. Zuzu, when we arrive at Shangyun Pavilion in a while, I will forget something here and send you back to get it. You wait for a while and then go over. Yanzu narrowed her eyes. Are you trying to make that peacock jealous? She is a very smart girl, haha. Whether she is jealous or not is none of my business. I am looking for my cousin because I have something serious to say. Okay, if you want me to do anything, just tell me. Be good, don't worry, I won't do anything wrong. She wore a red mouth and dressed flamboyantly, but she was cautious when walking on the road. Those who were watching even thought that there was something serious going on inside. But when she entered the courtyard of Shangyun Pavilion, she quietly wiped the red grease off her mouth. After entering the room, Song Shang stood there, looking at her with a smile. At the table near the front window, Xiaoji's father, his eldest brother, and several of Song Shang's men were standing. When you said in surprise, cousin, what a huge battle. Haha, Aouzhnyo family is rich, these people are not enough for my cousin. You're kidding me, right? These are nothing to my cousin, but to me, they are things that help me live my life. Haha, it's not that serious, time is limited, so let's keep the story short. Everyone, please sit down. Song Shang and Wen Yu sat at the small table, and the others sat at the long table with their accounts and calculations. I listened to what they said and took a look at it overall. It's very simple, it's just Arabic. What do you think? Webster was still standing there, feeling like his life was a joke. What to do? According to her temperament, she wanted to rush over immediately, grab Wen Yu and beat him. But, there is still a balance to be weighed. After a while, the Li Rui family came back with a complicated expression and whispered, Grandma, that went in. After a while, that named Hongdu came out and went back to her room. So, they are the only ones in that room. When things became real, her breath became weak. This. The people in Leroux's family were vicious but cautious. It must be right. We can't get close to that house, so we can only speculate. It's just a man and a woman alone. What can we do there? Grandma, catch a couple. Ah. Good. Then catch the traitor and the couple. Webster stormed out angrily, and the Leroux family followed closely. After taking a few steps, Webster stopped again. Grandma. I can't go by myself. What if I can't get into Shangyun Pavilion? What if your master wants to suppress this matter and refuse to admit it? But Grandma, if you want to take people to make trouble, I will definitely be annoyed if I lose my face today. I'm afraid of him. Webster's eyes stood up. What if I have the power to accept her? Aren't we helping out? Webster thought for a moment. That's right. In this case, I'll call my mother-in-law and let her see with her own eyes how her son is fooling around with his niece. Grandma, the old lady loves me the most, I can't say. Oh, she loves her son, but she won't love anyone else. What day is it today? As long as the old lady decides that Wenyu is a bitch, I will let me do it. Yes, Grandma has thought carefully. Webster turned around and entered the theater. By coincidence, he happened to catch up with the scene change. MRS Song has just come out from changing clothes. Mother, Webster greeted her. MRS Song was very happy and asked with a smile, why didn't you go to the theater? Mother, come here. Wei Shi pulled MRS Song outside and glanced at the girl next to the old lady. You go down first. Seeing that Wei Shi had something to say, MRS Song sent the girl away. Mom, I just received the news that I drank too much today and vomited. Upon hearing that her son had vomited, MRS Song became anxious. Huh. I told him not to drink so much. That's right. I don't know how long it will take for me to recover from this vomiting, but I will have to repay it at night. Where are the others? I went to the Shangyun Pavilion in Kintu. My wife asked someone to cook some sobring soup, but because of my temper, I sent it to him and he didn't accept it. My wife wanted to send it to her by herself, but she was afraid that he wouldn't open the door. Alas, why does this enemy, who is so polite, drink so much wine? Yes, Mother, my wife is a little worried. MRS Song knows that her son's temper is really bad. The people around him can't control him. I'll go take a look. Mother, my daughter-in-law is telling you, it's not a complaint. Then I will blame you. You care, why should he be surprised? I have everything. Then, let's be quiet and let Ziwani know about it and not laugh at him. Haha, you have thought carefully. Webster personally supported the old lady and sent a girl to serve the sobering soup. Only the Leroux family followed her. MRS Song walked in a hurry and didn't notice the evil smile on the corner of Webster's mouth. After walking for a long time, we arrived outside Shangyun Pavilion. There was a doorman who looked like 8 or 9 years old. When he saw the old lady coming, he was shocked and asked, "Old lady, why are you here?" MRS Song said angrily, "Why are you panicking? Let me take a look." She secretly laughed in her heart, thinking that her son had drunk too much and was afraid that she would know, so she had people guard the door to guard him. Then, "Old lady, please wait a moment while I go back to you." Stop. Webster was a little excited and lowered his voice as much as possible. The old lady wants to go in. Do you still need to announce? Stop talking. Go aside. Mother, let's go in quietly, just in time to catch me. She smiled playfully. MRS Song also had a smile on her face, with some mischievous excitement. That's right. Just leave it alone. After saying this to the child, she held Wei's hand and entered the courtyard. Walking through the small courtyard, I arrived at the door of Shangyun Pavilion. The door was closed and it was very quiet inside. Webster was so nervous that he was sweating. He couldn't care about anything anymore. He let go of the old lady and pushed the door open. The door is actually stuck. I was so excited that I could no longer control the anger I had suppressed for so long. It was as if she had already seen the sight of her husband and the slut, naked and in love with each other. He banged the door hard and screamed, "Open the door! Open the door quickly!" There was still no movement inside. Mrs. Song was stunned for a moment. Siang Yu, what are you doing?" Webster was so angry that when he saw that he couldn't knock it open, he kicked it with his feet and hit it with his body. Screaming louder, "Open the door! Open the door quickly!" Mrs. Song is very upright, but not stupid. She immediately understood, she was being taken advantage of by Webster. Not knowing what happened, she said in a deep voice, "Webster, stop. Open the door quickly." Webster ignored her mother-in-law at all and continued to scream and bang on the door. Perhaps the door bolt was not inserted tightly enough, and after a few hard knocks, it was actually knocked open. She didn't expect that. She stumbled and fell in. She ran for several steps and hit a pillar before stopping, almost hitting her head. But she didn't care about the pain, and glanced fiercely. "Congratulations on signing the contract." Second update. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 56. Chapter 56. It's all empty. Webster's eyes glanced. There was nothing in the room that she thought was there, a scene of a dog and a man fooling around. But all I saw was, the husband and the were sitting at the table, with tea on the table and account books in their hands. Neatly dressed. This is nothing, the key point is, she saw again, there was a long table by the window, with 5 or 6 people sitting at the table. There were pens, paper, account books, and abacus on the table. It looks like several people are working. Why is this so? How come? Wexler was dumbfounded and didn't know how to deal with it for a while. As early as when Wei Shi knocked on the door and shouted, Song Shang was a little surprised. He glanced at Wen Yu and saw that the girl was looking at the account in her hand and remained calm. He. Okay, you stinky girl. When was the door locked? When sending Yan Zhu out? What the are you doing? Dare you plot against me? Fine, do whatever you want. Do I look very worthless? He secretly despised it. At this moment, he looked calmly at Webster, who looked like he had failed to catch the rapist. He didn't get angry, and his expression didn't even change. Until, Mrs. Song walked in. Mother, Song Shang was startled, stood up suddenly, stared at Wei Shi fiercely, and quickly went to help Mrs. Song. Wexler felt that there was a murderous look in his eyes. The fear in her heart and the raw pain coming from her right chest and shoulder made her bend over. I. She was speechless and looked at Wen Yu blankly. Wen Yu also looked surprised, stood up quickly, pulled up his sleeves and saluted. Aunt. Mrs. Song looked at the situation in the room. What else didn't she understand? The daughter-in-law brought herself here to catch the adulterer. Haha, this is my birthday gift. It's really good. Mrs. Song has been fighting at home for many years, and she is not a vegetarian. She is angry and angry in her heart, but her face is calm and her mood cannot be seen. Song Shang helped him sit down, looked around, and asked in a normal tone, "What are you doing?" Mother, Song Shang said softly to his mother, Au got back her mother's dowry from her great-aunt. Ha! It's a lot. She made a fortune and became a rich lady. My son wants to see it. What's the benefit? Mrs. Song knew that her son was coaxing her, but she broke her guard and smiled, You have the nerve to say this. Ha ha. At that time, Au had no one, so he asked his son for help. This was a trivial matter for his son, so he sent someone to help him take over. Now that my cousin has a few people, let them hand it over. After all, Au is a girl and has never done anything, so my son took some time to take a look. And, it was you who begged my cousin for help. Although these properties are nothing to my cousin. But after all, it was my mother's dowry. You cherished it very much. She was afraid that something would go wrong, so she asked her cousin for help. Although Yor has the manpower, I still want to come and listen in person. I've alarmed you, when you said a little uneasily. Mrs. Song said, "It's okay. My aunt thought your cousin drank too much. She was worried. Come and have a look. He has been drinking too much lately." Song Shang said to the people at the long table, "I think the matter has been discussed just now. You can go down and discuss it." Those people quickly responded, hugged their belongings and left. Shangyun Pavilion has front and rear doors. The back door leads to the back house, and the front door leads to the front living room. Webster was so excited that he forgot about this problem. She also thought, even if they were not caught fooling around, there was no way they could be separated from each other if they were alone together. Since her husband obviously treats her differently. Since the dares to provoke her repeatedly. Then push her to the ground and stomp her hard. But what to do now? Although she did something too reckless, she doesn't regret it. Unyielding, he stood aside with a sullen face and said nothing. When you glanced around quietly and said cautiously, "Aunt, cousin, yours things are done, shall we go back to the house first?" Mrs. Song nodded, "Well, you go back first." When you saluted, obediently walked out, walked to the door, turned around and looked, Song Shang was worried about his mother, and was saying to Mrs. Song, "Mom, the play over there hasn't finished yet. Can you go back too?" Webster was looking at Wen Yu, but when he saw Wen Yu turning back, he really wanted to kill her with his eyes. Wen Yu looked at Weishi calmly for a while. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows and showed an extremely provocative smile. "I was tricked by her?" Webster immediately became furious, "You bitch," and was about to rush out. Presumptuous, Song Shang slammed the table and became furious. Webster rushed 2 steps, stopped, pointed at Wen Yu, who had disappeared, and burst into tears. You are angry with me because of her." Song Shang ignored her and whispered to his mother, "Mom, the play hasn't finished yet, and there are still guests here. It's not appropriate for your master to be away. Go back quickly. I'll ask Madame Su to see you off." Mrs. Song looked at Webster and her son, obviously worried. "Your son is so old, why don't you feel confident about doing things? Even if you are 60 years old, you are still a mother who cannot rest assured. You go first, then come back and my son will talk to you." "Okay, then, you two have a nice talk and don't quarrel." "Yes. Madame Su, please send the old lady off." His voice was cold. Mrs. Su was actually there, and no one noticed her just now. After Mrs. Song left, Song Shang sat there and looked at Wei Shi coldly. Webster's tears washed away the powder on his face. His expression was not as elegant as usual, and he was quite embarrassed. But she was determined not to lose, so she looked at Song Shang coldly, her voice trembling slightly. "What happened today was your idea, or that bitch's idea? Are you kidding me?" Song Shang sat upright with his hands on his knees and said nothing. "Do you want to admit her into the house, or do you want me to give up my position as the head wife? Tell me openly." Webster was very crazy. "What do you think, Song Shang still behaved like that?" Webster hated this the most. "Do you think I don't know anything?" She took out the letter and slapped it in front of Song Shang. "Read it for yourself." Song Shangguo opened the letter, lowered his eyes and saw a few words on the paper, which were clear at a glance. After reading it, I put it on the table and still didn't say anything. Do you think I don't know your thoughts? Haha, I am your wife. Have you ever given it to me a coral hairpin worth 20,000 taels of silver? Song Shang still didn't speak. This completely angered Wei Shi, and she felt aggrieved. Song Shang, please don't forget that I married you as the legitimate daughter of a fourth-grade official. Over the years, you have been in power in the Song family. With all the wealth from the Nyo family, can you do it without the help of the Wei family? She cocked her neck proudly and pretentiously. Now that you have achieved success, you want to kill the donkey, haha, do you think my Wei family is just a breadwinner? Song Shang smiled faintly, and she saw a hint of mockery in the corner of his mouth. You want me to give up my position as the head wife? Haha. Don't even think about it. Since I married you, I have respected my mother-in-law, taken care of the housework, and given birth to a daughter. There is nothing wrong with me. She thought of everything she had done, and she really felt like she had met the biggest heartless man in the world. I couldn't help but shed tears again. Why are you doing this to me? I had so many high-ranking young men to marry, but I chose you and stayed with you until today. Did you let a dog eat your conscience? Song Shang still had no reaction at all. Webster's reaction to his reaction made her want to scratch the wall with hatred. As long as the Wen family is not ashamed, I, the head wife, will take that to you, she yelled. Are you done? Song Shang asked calmly. Then, let me say a few words too. Song Shang is the scumbag today, right? It's just that human nature is complicated. How can there be so much right and wrong? End of this chapter. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 57. Chapter 57. Open the skylight. Webster's legs were weak and he couldn't stand any more, so he walked to the table and sat down. Tears flowed to his lips without wiping them, and he just stared at Song Shang. There are some things that I haven't said before. Today, let's open the skylight and speak frankly. Song Shang looked very calm, but Wei Shi was a little uneasy. At the beginning, I did have something to ask of your uncle. The conditions I offered were money or a property. But the Wei family responded and wanted to get married. To be honest, I was reluctant at the time. Webster was stunned when he heard this. She has been in contact with many high-ranking people since she was a child, but the things she cares about are all in the ostentatious aspects such as food, clothing, housing, and transportation. As for substantive matters, she has no interest in them and has no contact with them. So I don't know anything about the Song and Wei families. It's not that I'm arrogant and look down on girls from the Wei family. Anyone else would be overjoyed when a fourth-grade official marries a commoner. But I'm not. I'm worried that the Song family has no power and Chi Dafei is not a coincidence. There are many things in the family. I can't control myself. How unwilling would it be for my daughter-in-law to marry a commoner or even a businessman? She is unwilling to do so, and I am even more tired when I look up. Song Shang, ask yourself with your conscience, have I ever expressed my unwillingness before this? You just refuse to admit it? But listen to what I have to say. I tried to push it back, but I didn't expect that it was no longer up to me. Thinking about Wei Jiaming's enthusiasm to win over, but secretly intimidating and suppressing. Later, I gave in and suggested that I choose a concubine of the Wei family, and the Wei family agreed. But when it came time to make the appointment, it was replaced by you, the legitimate daughter. Oh, I was really surprised that such a great honor was given to me. No joy. Wei's mind was racing. The Wei family wanted to marry him in the first place, but this was just a detour. She was almost 18 at that time and had not yet been engaged. She is talented and smart since she was young, and has great experience in dressing up. She is always innovative and even leads the trend. This gives her a sense of accomplishment. There are many people who like her, but when it comes to marriage, it is usually the noble family's children who are interested, but there is no result. Those who are unable to achieve a high level or a low level are getting older, and my mother is extremely anxious. Later, when Song Shang was appointed, she heard that she was not convinced and went to her mother angrily. But her mother had a deep conversation with her and asked her, which high-class mother-in-law can accommodate her? What young husband can afford her expenses? Even if the position of queen or princess can afford it, they cannot be without control and responsibility. She spends all her money without getting married, and the sisters-in-law at home have long been dissatisfied. In the end, she married into the Song family when she had no better choice. It's just that no one else knows about all this. Song Shang was still recalling those unpleasant past events. He originally offered 50,000 taels of silver to the Wei family to do something. In the end, she married a concubine and asked for 70,000 taels of silver. Finally, he married his daughter-in-law and asked for a price of 100,000 taels. Haha, Wei Xianjiao, what does she think she is? Do you really think you are getting married? You are just an object sold by the Wei family. It's just, after all, she is the mother of his daughter, and he is not willing to hurt her like this. I won't go into details about the process. We got married, and you are beautiful and charming. Moreover, after all, I respect you very much when you marry me. I have also thought about living a good life with you. Even if it is not what I want, I will tolerate. Just. You may not have known much about the Song family before you got married, but I didn't hide anything from you after you got married. You must also know how difficult it was for my mother and me to go all the way. If it weren't for her dedicated maintenance, I don't know how many times I've died. So, my mother is the one who gave me many lives. I can do anything in this life, but I don't want her to be looked down upon by my daughter-in-law. How can I look down on her? Webster retorted. Don't you? Song Shang showed a sad expression for the first time. Although my mother is not from a high family, she is not illiterate, and she does not have the bearing of an official wife. But she is kind and never harsh to you. She may occasionally speak mediocrely, and her eyesight it's not that high, but what's your expression? You think I can't see it? Webster knew that she was impatient when her mother-in-law sometimes said things she didn't want to hear. Sometimes, I interrupt with an excuse and leave. It turned out that he had already known what she was thinking, but how could she recognize it? You are trying to inflict a crime. Song Shang did not argue with her. She is an illiterate old lady and will remain so until her death. If she is not Mrs. Homan, she cannot give you what you want. Don't do this to me. I don't recognize it. You are 3 months pregnant, and Ruyi is pregnant too. Song Shang thought of the pretty, clean and diligent girl. As one wishes. Is it that cheap maid? Webster broke out in a cold sweat. You didn't even say a word to me, so you aborted her and killed her. I haven't, cried Webster. Ruyi has been with me since she was a child. She is smart, hard-working, careful, and loyal. She is never competitive. She is never disrespectful to you when you come in. What a joke. Who am I? Is it her turn to be disrespectful to me? Webster was repeatedly criticized and became angry. I am the legitimate wife, and everything in the backyard is under my control. If I don't agree with her pregnancy, she can't have one. Even if I agree to let her give birth, she can't have a son until I have a legitimate son. Then I want to ask, who do you think I, Song Shang, am? Song Shang asked steadily. He sat upright and showed off his momentum. Webster had never seen such a husband before and was stunned. Am I a lowly husband who can only look up to you and let you do whatever you want? Am I a wretch who can only control the Song family with the help of the Wei family? Am I the fertile soil under the feet of the most beautiful flower in the world? Ha ha. Wei, you have been doing this all day long. If you study clothes, you will know what is fashionable as soon as it comes, but you have never tried to understand who your husband is. The operation of millions of assets, the deployment of hundreds of people, and at the age of 12, a life is in your hands, that is, you, how dare you look down on me? Webster had nothing to say and sat blankly. Whether it's you or the Way family, I don't owe you anything. Then what do you want? Webster insisted on the last bit of pride. Let's make peace. What did you say? How dare you? Webster was shocked. Is this really his plan? I dare, Song Shang said lightly. He, it seems that you don't take the Wei family seriously at all. The Wei family has helped me a lot, but my contribution to the Wei family is even greater. Even if we reconcile, I don't want to break up with the Wei family. Webster just showed a sarcastic smile. Song Shang said, but if the Wei family doesn't want to, I'm not afraid. After he finished speaking, he looked at Wei's family intently. I'll take over whatever you want. You can stay in your yard these 2 days. After Mother's birthday, I will personally take you back to Wei's house. If anything happens, I'll talk to your uncle and father. What? You can't do this. At this time, Webster was completely panicked. Even though she said it harshly, as a woman, how could she want to reconcile? Before she got engaged, she was no longer welcome by her sisters-in-law in her natal family. How could she live a good life when she returned to her natal family? She is finished. You can't, we have a daughter, what do you want Sister Han to do? Mother won't agree, she panicked. That's not your concern anymore, come here. Out of nowhere, 2 men in black jumped out. One of them grabbed Li Rui's family. The Li Rui family didn't know why things happened like this, and they were very frightened. Song Shang only gave her a cold look. For some reason, he was very disgusted with the mother-in-law and said, take her away. As soon as the man in black dragged him away, the Li Rui family didn't even understand what was going on, so they were pulled away by the man in black. Webster was shocked. What are you going to do? Let her go. Song Shang only said, you go back to the courtyard first. The man in black came up and said, Madam, please. The voice sounded like a woman. Wexler was completely fainted and was taken away unconsciously. Song Shang stood quietly for a while. Taking advantage of the situation is not bad. I have communicated with the editor that the title of the book may need to be changed. Thanks for your support. I forgot to thank those who gave me a reward yesterday. End of this chapter. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 58. Chapter 58. I know this trick. MRS Song was sent back to the theater by Madame Su. Old MRS Wen saw her coming back and greeted her quickly. What have you done? Come on, we're getting to the exciting part. Well, I'm worried that my enemy has drunk too much, let's go and have a look. The wine was very strong today. I drank a small glass and my head felt dizzy. As soon as MRS Song sat down, she heard Song Hanchi screaming over there. She turned around and saw that she was still crying, and Yer and several girls were surrounding her to comfort her. Hey, what's wrong, Sister Han? She asked MRS Wen without moving. Hey, during the break just now, a few clowns came out to do somersaults. As soon as they finished somersaulting, she started making trouble. Didn't you see enough? Old MRS Wen said while looking at the stage. If things were to go as usual, MRS Song would have to go over and coax her in person. Today, Wei Shi was so angry with her that she no longer even thought about coaxing her eldest granddaughter. Shaked his head, this little girl. Where did the performance go? She actually started to watch the play seriously. The guests who lived nearby went back after watching the play. There may be some men drinking in the front, but the backyard is relatively quiet. The 2 old ladies had a simple dinner. They were tired after a long day of work, so they both went back to their rooms. As soon as MRS Song returned to the house, Her personal nanny came over and whispered a few words to her. She sighed inwardly, sat down, and stared at the candlelight in trance. Her son is strong, and she won't say anything more about what has already been decided. Moreover, she was really angry today. This daughter-in-law is usually arrogant, sour, and extremely confident. I know about clothing, makeup, and jewelry all day long. People who are keen on interacting with high-ranking people would not look down upon ordinary people. To be wary, suspicious, tempted, and fiddling with your son, and never tired of it. This is not a big deal, but the problem is, she can't give birth to a son. My heart was burning with anxiety, and I prayed to Buddha and burned incense every day. But for Wei Xianjiao, she was both a daughter-in-law and a daughter-in-law, and she never felt sorry for her. But she was still satisfied after a while. For what reason? Whenever a relative or friend with a daughter comes to the house, including Yi, she will say a few words in a nonchalant manner. She thinks I'm stupid and can't understand. If I didn't feel sorry for my son, how could I tolerate her? That girl Wenyu is so good looking, I'm afraid it has long been an eyesore for her. Just catch up with such a thing, don't you toss it? Just looking at the two of them, this grudge is considered to be dead. But, if you talk about 1,000 things and 10,000 things, get married, and have a daughter, what else can you do? I couldn't help but let go of my thoughts of blaming. I plan to wait for Ashang to come later and persuade him, forget it, don't worry about it. The most important thing is to seize the time and give birth to a son. At this time, someone at the door said, "Madam, Miss Wen is here." Mrs. Song frowned irritably and wanted to say goodbye. She was stunned for a while and then said coldly, "Let her in." Wen Yu came in and bowed to her in a polite manner. He stood and did not sit down, obviously accompanying her carefully, and just now, it was Wen Yu who did things without thinking carefully. Well, it caused trouble for my cousin and made my aunt worried. I'm so sorry. His eyes were red, and he was in tears. Mrs. Song has been very proud of her these past 2 days, but this happened. No matter what, it was inappropriate for her to meet her son in private. Webster's jealousy is not completely unreasonable. If it were Webster himself, he would probably be angry too. Moreover, when you standing in front of me under the candlelight is as beautiful as a night lily. I, an old lady, can't take my eyes away, let alone Webster. He is always competitive and has no eyes for anyone. This girl must be an eyesore to her. Wen Yu's helpless and worried look is really painful. He can't show off his ugly face. Oh, today is a misunderstanding, don't take it to heart. Sit down quickly. When you sat down next to Mrs. Song, and, you went back and thought about it carefully. This matter is really weird. I just need to tell you or my cousin beforehand. She blamed herself very much. Tugging at the handkerchief. Mrs. Song's heart was churning, telling me is more or less the same, but telling her? It's already been noisy. Oh, if you want to blame it, it's also your cousin. He has been working outside for many years, but he still doesn't know how to make the best arrangements. How can a little girl like you take care of everything? Okay, it's not a big deal. The little girl's thoughts don't be too heavy. Mrs. Song patted Wen Yu on the arm. Actually, and Wen Yu coquettishly took Mrs. Song's arm and shook her gently. Just now, you was frightened. You know, my cousin-in-law before, she was so good. Such a beautiful and talented woman, a proud lady from a high-ranking official family, can be so kind to us sisters. If we didn't get along with each other, who would have thought she would be so approachable? This passage is not going to appeal to Mrs. Song. Especially the words "miss from a high-ranking official's family," she was even more disapproving. Yes, she is a lady from a high-ranking official's family, but my son is not willing to climb high. Is it okay that the Wei family is rushing to marriage at a low age? My son is so outstanding, Why is he not worthy of her? My sister-in-law is very beautiful, she is very good at dressing up, and she knows a lot of new things. She is the idol in the hearts of our sisters. Every time I want to see her, I am so excited. Her new look always makes me happy. It amazes us. We will be talking about it for a long time. I heard that her reputation has spread to the capital. When you looked full of admiration and conviction. Mrs. Song was even more unhappy. She gently pulled Wen Yu's hand away, took a sip of tea, then put it down without answering. Wen Yu smiled secretly in her heart, who mother-in-law in the world would like such a ostentatious daughter-in-law? Webster's method of instigating me to praise was something that Webster used a lot in the previous life. As a result, Mrs. Song hated and despised herself and never gave her a good face. Hee, I can do this trick too. Today, you provoked my sister-in-law, and I realized how powerful she is, when you quietly stuck out her tongue, looking as soft and delicate as a little daughter. She is so beautiful. Mrs. Song's heart softened. Over the years, Song Shang bought her a lot of jewelry. But as an old widow, why would she wear those? With a daughter like Wen Yu, if she dresses up well, how beautiful will the two of them be? Although Webster is well dressed, a daughter-in-law is completely different from a daughter-in-law. The slight annoyance towards Wen Yu disappeared in an instant. Oh, forget it. Today, I have opened my eyes. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known that she would have such a temper when something happens. Such a way of doing it. And after one move is used up, another move comes. When you pouted again, actually, my cousin got angry at me. As a younger sister, it doesn't matter if she listens to my sister-in-law's scolding. It's just that she dragged you into it. It's not good to make you anxious. The day after tomorrow, but what about your birthday? Mrs. Song's face turned even worse. In the world, what my cousin feels most distressed about is you. When I saw you coming, my cousin's expression turned ugly. Tisk, 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 tisk. I have to say, what my cousin did, is really inappropriate. Isn't it? My son's face turned dark at that time. Mrs. Song thought angrily. When I was a child, you also lived with you for many days. Even though I was young at the time, I also understood that it was not easy for you and your cousin to have what you have today. Just now, my cousin and sister-in-law were talking to Po. Oh, how could you do that? And, I blame my cousin. These words made Mrs. Song feel excited. Ew. The early death of her husband was a huge blow. She was pregnant with Song Shang and almost lost her life. Soon, her eldest son Song Chen, such a beautiful little man, God knows how scared and desperate he was when he was thrown into the lake. At that time, I really felt like I was crawling out of hell. Song Shang, I don't know how many times I have been bullied by others. But he felt sorry for himself and was afraid that he would be worried. Before entering the door, he had to tidy up for a long time. Sometimes, if his clothes are torn and there are wounds on his face and body, he will say that he is practicing martial arts. Knowing that her son had been beaten, she couldn't expose it. Mother and son hid each other's secrets. How many grievances have been endured in this way? In the end, the clouds will clear and the moon will shine brightly. But this daughter-in-law only knows beauty and knows how to keep an eye on her husband and not look for other women. But it doesn't matter that he is almost 24 and has no son. If he cannot bear children himself, he will not take concubines for his son. Knowing that he is his son's weakness, yet he does not hesitate to take advantage of himself for selfish reasons. Suddenly, she felt a trace of hatred for Webster. Which mother-in-law in the world would like such a ostentatious daughter-in-law? MRSG, look here, look here. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 59. Chapter 59. He wants to reconcile. When you saw MRS Song's expression, well, that's almost it. To go too far is not enough. So he changed the subject, and, Ewer has never seen her mother since she was born. My father, took a job outside and had a wife and children. In good times, we can see each other during the new year, but in bad times, we can't see each other for 2 or 3 years. I have never said this to anyone, I really miss my father and want to be by his side, I envy my second sister. She seemed to be mumbling to herself, her expression was so lonely. MRS Song felt sorry for her, that father of yours. In terms of homework and official work, he is smart and motivated. But he is too careless in life. How could anyone treat his eldest daughter like this? It's not easy being a father. You have always been a considerate and good girl, MRS Song set the tone. Auntie praised me. This time, my father gave me my mother's dowry. She narrowed her eyes happily. Haha, I have heard about this. It's just that you are a little girl who has never been exposed to it. It is really difficult to handle so many things at once. I told your grandmother yesterday. Ewer was so happy that she read and reread the things her mother left behind. But, to tell you the truth, I haven't slept well for several days. I'm just afraid that if I don't do well, my mother's hard work will be betrayed. Being laughed at. MRS Song disagreed, your mother's spirit in heaven only wants you to be safe and happy. As for the dowry, as long as you do your best and the results are good or bad, she will not criticize you harshly. And this matter has nothing to do with others, why should others laugh at you? When you has learned what my aunt said, when you nodded solemnly. Her attitude was very popular with MRS Song. And, when I was in Changyun Pavilion just now, Ewer saw how her cousin was talking. Oh my god, he's so proud. Oh, if Ewer could be even 10% as beautiful as my cousin, she would be as beautiful as heaven. Haha, your cousin is very talented and willing to work hard. He started working at the age of 12. You should be careful with your words in the future. I hope my mother will be as proud as you of having an outstanding daughter. You girl, I have watched you grow up. I know a lot about benevolence and righteousness, protecting your loved ones with heart, and being well behaved. Your mother will definitely be proud of you. When you blushed and smiled secretly in his heart, that's not what you said in the last life. Oh, I'm a big girl now, and we're getting engaged, seeing when you lower his head, MRS Song chuckled, Auntie will help you keep an eye on it. And, you don't listen to me. Okay, if you don't listen, I'll tell your grandmother. She will definitely find a good match for you. What Ewer wants to ask my aunt to do is to intercede with my cousin. Don't just think about benefits when you do something for me. MRS Song laughed heartily, her mood suddenly brightened, silly girl, he is just teasing you. When Ewer gets things done and makes some money, I'll invite my aunt to eat at the 8 Immortals restaurant. Okay, Auntie is waiting. The two people laughed. And, as for, my cousin's matter, Ewer wants to go and make amends to her cousin first. Do you think it's okay? What do you think? MRS Song was a little surprised. You see, my cousin and my cousin have been married for many years, and they have Xiao Hainer. Just now, my cousin and sister-in-law were so angry, and my cousin was also angry. If they don't accept each other's weakness, what will happen? These words made MRS Song completely give up her doubts about her. He snorted again, mutually dissatisfied. How can a husband submit to his wife? As for my cousin, she is indeed proud. If my cousin can take the initiative to give in, I guess everything will be fine. Mrs. Song's face turned pale again. A husband should give in to his wife. And you means, big things are reduced to small things. What's more, this is nothing in the first place. I don't know where my cousin is so angry. When you walked away as he spoke and quickly stopped talking, feeling extremely embarrassed. Mrs. Song feels so funny, this girl. Hey, aunt. You is worried about you and your cousin. This matter will never end. How painful it is. You have worked hard for half your life, and you should be enjoying happiness. You are always thinking about this in your heart. Can you be happy? Alas, you girl, Mrs. Song patted Wen Yu's little hand. She was really more sensible than Webster. Aunt, you really doesn't want my aunt to have trouble with the family. So, I came up with a good idea. You goes to apologize to her cousin. If she wants to be beaten or scolded, you can do whatever you want. If she still can't make it, my cousin will tell her a few more words. A soft word. The clouds will surely clear in one day. Mrs. Song looked at her. Look, the two of them have reconciled as before. When I add a little nephew later, how beautiful will this life be, do you think so? Haha, you arranged it quite clearly. Don't laugh at me. Only in this way can I feel more at ease. Otherwise, I will feel really guilty. I really don't want her to lose her temper with her cousin. Mrs. Song said, your aunt has accepted your wish. However, you don't need to worry about this matter. Your cousin is confident. At worst, there is still an aunt. Ah. Really? This is what you said. Wen Yu's eyes were bright. Well, that's what I said. Okay, and, go to bed early. You is back, good night, and, Wen Yu hurriedly saluted, felt relieved, and ran away with a smile. This girl, Mrs. Song pointed at Wen Yu's back and complained to her grandmother. Wen Yu returned to the courtyard, and Mother Song saw it. Go back and tell old Mrs. Wen, the big girl has gone to who knows where, she just came back now. Mrs. Wen snorted, she's very familiar here. Thinking of Wen Yu's meticulous treatment of Mrs. Song, she felt bad. Wen Yu returned to the room, and Yanzu asked, how was it? It's okay. Wen Yu stopped laughing. In this life, even if I don't stay with Song Shang, I can't let you stay in the Song family. Not long after Wen Yu left, Song Shang came back. Mrs. Song quickly sat up straight and looked at her son. She saw that his eyes were bright and he was in a good mood, with only a faint smell of alcohol. So I felt relieved. Mother, your son is worrying you. What did you say? It's okay. It's just what do you want to do next? The mother, the son wants to make peace with her. After hearing this, Mrs. Song looked calm and not at all anxious. Song Shang was surprised. Son, is it because of your gentle words, Zhizi Moruomua? Her doubts about Wen Yu were gone, but her doubts about her son were still there. Song Shang didn't answer. He pulled up a stool and sat next to his mother. I have been thinking about this for 2 years. To be honest, you don't have any grandchildren yet, so it has nothing to do with me. Mrs. Song said nothing and looked at Song Shang. I found out that the Wei family had attached themselves to the king of Wu 2 years ago, and they were quite close. What? How did it get involved like this? The Wei family, these years have been going well, so they may have higher aspirations. If that person wants to succeed, he will need a lot of money. I'm worried that the Song family will be sacrificed. Huh, Mrs. Song was shocked. In the future, if that person succeeds, and the Wei family becomes enlightened, they may turn around and devour me. But if that person fails, the Song family will definitely be devastated, and they will be unable to escape. Oh my God, is this true? I didn't expect that we could be involved in this matter. MRS Song broke out in a sweat. This is also the reason why I didn't want to marry the Wei family in the first place. Hee, I don't have much ability, and I have a lot of appetite. And I dare to think and be shameless. For profit, I even sold my legitimate daughter. It's boring. Then, if you reconcile with Li, can the Wei family respond? Are you not angry? Song Shang said, originally, I planned to delay it for a while. But now, half a year later, King Wu will come to Beijing. If the Wei family wants to please, they have to find the capital, so I can negotiate. What to do afterward? There's nothing to worry about. Over the years, the Wei family's affairs have not escaped my notice. If he is soft, I will give in a little. If he is tough, I will not let him force me so easily. Son, apart from your deceased father, there is nothing worth remembering in the Song family. The property belongs to us, the bird's nest is a waste, and the rice porridge is also a waste. The safety of our mother and son is the most important. I know, mother, don't worry. MRS Song has experienced ups and downs. Although this twist was a little sharp, she could still keep her composure and said firmly, I have nothing to worry about when you do things. Webster, haha, I'm afraid we can't give her what she wants. So I have respected her for many years just because I love you. Otherwise, ha. Thank you, mother, for your understanding. Then, are you going to have two people by your side? Give me two grandsons first. Haha. Mother, take good care of yourself. In the future, there will be a lot of grandsons. I will let you take care of them. You can't complain that your back hurts and your legs hurt. Song Shang knew how to handle his mother best. How could it be? I'm in good health. Well, let's do this before your birthday. Hee, I'll have to deal with it for my mother in the next 2 days. Don't worry, MRS Song sneered on her face. What does this mean? End of this chapter. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 60. Chapter 60. No one will do. The night before, when you tossed and turned and couldn't sleep well. Just now, her design has come to an end. No matter what the outcome is, she doesn't care. So I went to bed early. At the beginning, the past events of the Song family were still floating in my mind. Then, the traces gradually faded away. She fell into a deep sleep. After getting up in the morning and washing up, I looked at her breakfast: tea, eggs, fish porridge, beef porridge, yang chun noodles, small wontons, pickled radish, pickled bamboo shoots, spicy and sour lotus root slices, steamed ham, smoked fish, fried fish, and shrimp. Stewed bird's nest. I actually gave him 2 portions. Cousin knows how much he values Yanzu. When you suppress the sweet and sour feeling in his heart, and he and Yanzu buried their heads in eating. Halfway through the meal, the girl in front told me that today's activities were arranged by the lake, where you could enjoy lotuses, drink tea, watch dancing, juggling, and ride horses. The old lady asked the girl to prepare it for use. Horse riding. Looks like everything is business as usual. After they finished eating, Xiaoji cleaned up the battlefield. This fat girl never knew there was such a delicious breakfast in the world. Yanzu took out all the riding clothes and helped her put them on. When you originally didn't plan to ride a horse, but he was in a good mood today, so he tried it with interest. Huh, does it fit so well? She stretched out her arms and looked at it. Hey, Zuzu changed it when you were not in the house. Zuzu. How can you be so capable? When you pinched Yanzu's chin and laughed exaggeratedly. Yanzu was very happy and hurriedly put on her own. Look, this suit has also been changed. As for you, do you want to ride a horse today? When you looked down on her. I'll let someone lead me away. Yanzu was self-aware. Xiaoji quickly said, let my second brother be the groom for Zuzu. Wen Yu looked at himself in the mirror and touched his face. Wen Yu, why are you so beautiful? When they went out, she and Yanzu both held small bamboo hats to protect themselves from the sun. When we got to the front, the old lady hadn't come out yet. Sister Hui, Wen Xiao and Wen Wan were wearing riding clothes, and Wen Su was wearing an ordinary skirt, standing at the door of the courtyard. Seeing Wen Yu and Yanzu, Wen Xiao stopped breathing and looked ugly. Sister, why is she also wearing riding clothes? Wen Xiao pointed at Yanzu with her whip. She wants to accompany me on horseback riding, Wen Yu said with a smile. Who is she? She is worthy of riding with us, Wen Xiao said harshly. You are not riding with us, you are riding with me. If you are unhappy, just stay away from me, Wen Yu said contemptuously. As the situation changed little by little, she became tougher little by little. You're crazy. Wen Xiao became anxious. Sister Hui quickly pulled her, Jiao Jiao. She whispered, this is in the Song family, don't let others laugh at you. But look at her. Just stay away from them for a while, Sister Hui said softly. Huh, I really don't know what to say. Wen Jiao planned to complain to her mother when she went back and deal with this dead girl Wen Yu. Sister-in-law Li helped old Mrs. Wen out. She asked softly, have you brought all the sisters' things? The girl's house is outside, and all necessary things must be prepared. The girls responded with a smile. Old Mrs. Wen didn't say anything and got in the car directly. On the viewing platform by the lake, tables and chairs have already been set up, a sun protection roof has been set up, and a windproof gauze has been hung. There are tea and fruits on the table. A stage has also been set up on the other side of the path, and the dancers of the Song family are preparing to dance soon. Farther away, there is a partition, and behind it are some jugglers, who are also making preparations. Male and female servants, dressed in original cloth-colored clothes, each perform their duties. Mrs. Song was already here. When she saw Mrs. Wen and the girls, she came over with a smile, and several girls saluted quickly. Although old Mrs. Wen was born in the Song family, this is really the first time she has played like this. He looked around and tooted, Ah Shang really knows how to enjoy it. Look at this. Tisk tisk, none of the princesses in the capital have such a life as us. Wen Yu had experienced it in his previous life, but he didn't think much of it. But when Jiao and the others were stunned, their eyes were not enough. Sister Yi came over and introduced her to the sisters in a soft voice. Webster was nowhere to be seen. Mrs. Song had a warm smile on her face. She couldn't tell that she was angry yesterday and her daughter-in-law was still locked up, that's right. I don't know how he came up with it. There is a stable over there, and, where's the female guard? Ah. Female guard? Tisk tisk, Ah Shang is so particular about this, Mrs. Wen shook her head. Hey, all the ladies are wearing riding uniforms, Mrs. Song looked at Wen Yu and Yanzu emphatically, her heart was beating fast. These two girls have a different style, how come they are so beautiful? At this moment, she figured it out right away, if her son separated from Webster, she would ask her aunt for Yu Yedu. Let's take the one next to it, oh, my gosh, it's so good. She thinks beautifully. There is a female guard following us today, so don't be afraid, just enjoy the lake view on horseback, but don't run away, it's dangerous. The girls smiled and agreed. But Mrs. Wen shook her head, I don't want them to go. If you show off this way, won't you turn Li Kuei into a bad guy? They can't ride very far. There are places to rest along the way. We can rest for a while and then come back. Arrived under the shed, Mrs. Wen said to a few girls, you go and play. There are many people today, so don't run around. If you ride a horse, be careful. Mrs. Song accompanied her and met several relatives and friends before sitting down. MRS Song then whispered, Xiang Yu felt a little uncomfortable yesterday, but I didn't let her come out today. Yo, what's wrong? Old MRS Wen was startled. She refused to say anything. I asked for a doctor, but she insisted that she couldn't do it on this day. Alas, I was thinking. MRS Song suddenly had a mysterious smile on her face. Is it possible? I feel really uneasy. Then let me go and take a look. MRS Wen looked solemn when she heard this. No, 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 no. I've gone to see it. To be honest, although I'm heartbroken, I don't want to show off too much, for fear of putting pressure on her. I have to say that MRS Song is really smart. In this way, no one will be surprised that Webster did not show up. These days, Webster has offended MRS Wen several times. So, relying on her status, she said very dissatisfied, what is there to be afraid of? You are too accommodating to her. You spend all your time showing off your flowers, but you can't give birth to a son. Leave me alone, I would have set rules for her long ago. MRS Song smiled awkwardly. Old MRS Wen, however, hated the iron. If she can't give birth to a child, she should at least arrange a few for brother Shang. Direct sons and daughters, that's what the princes and marquises pay attention to. For people like ours, as long as they are innocent, women are the treasures of their hearts. You are talking about. Hurry up. Look at those people over there who are looking at you eagerly. Old MRS Wen glanced at MRS Zhang in the second room, with her daughter-in-law and daughter. A large number of people came to spoil the fun again. In any case, MRS Wen does not want the situation in the Song family to be unstable. I'll think of a solution later and, today, I have to ask you to help me control the situation and stop people from making trouble. Don't worry, if someone is looking for trouble, they must first pass my seniority level before doing anything. The two old ladies smiled mysteriously. The guests are seated and served politely by the servants. The fruit is fresh and the tea temperature is just right. The sound of silk and bamboo could be heard in the distance, and 6 dancers in matching colored skirts were dancing by themselves. In the venue, young men and girls wear various clothes. Everyone looked at each other secretly, youthful feelings filled the lakeside. Yanzu and Sister Hui got together to discuss which dancer was better. Wen Jiao and a girl were discussing the makeup of the girls present. Wenwan has matured early and is secretly looking at those young men. Full of laughter. And the Webster who should have caught everyone's attention has not appeared yet, and no one even asked about it. When you smiled secretly, is there anyone in this world who can't do it? Sister Au. When you turned around and saw a shy young man with a slender figure and a delicate face. Who are you? Actually, when you had already recognized him. She covered up the coldness in her eyes and asked with some doubts. Song Tao. The man smiled and bowed. Ah, it's my 7th cousin, I haven't seen him for a long time, so I didn't recognize him for a while. Song Tao, the concubine of the second wife. From what Wen Yu said, Song Tao's eyes looked a little hurt. Wen Yu felt a sudden chill. How are you, Sister Au? He was polite and careful. Well, I'm fine. When you stopped talking. Is that Hungdu the one in the riding uniform over there? No matter how well Song Tao pretended to be, he couldn't help but look at Yanzu with burning eyes. No. That's Yanzu. She's my uncle's adopted daughter. My adopted sister, Wen Yu said seriously. Huh? Song Tao looked at Wen Yu, obviously surprised. Before he could ask again, Song Shang came over and said, Au. As soon as Song Tao saw Song Shang coming, he immediately called, 5th brother. He was low-key and respectful. Tao, get ready to leave. Song Shang was extremely gentle to him. Yes. I'll call some of them. Song Tao went happily. Au, come and see the horse given to you. When you looked at Song Tao's back as he left happily, but there was a trace of anger in his eyes. Yes, how could you forget him? Song Shang's most trusted younger brother was a crucial link in the conspiracy to kill him. Post it first and correct it if there are any mistakes. End of this chapter.